Here's the champ Antonio Tarver. You're listening to Tarver's Take. I want to touch on the fact that tomorrow ends a long historical run for Showtime Sports and Boxing. Showtime pay-per-view will have its last show telecast, last boxing telecast, live from Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas, Nevada, where PBC presents a doubleheader, man, exciting doubleheader. David Monster Benavidez goes against Demetrius Boo Boo Boogeyman Andrade, man. One of the two of the most avoided fighters in the game. Uh, Demetrius Andre finally gets his shot, his marquee matchup that I think he's always needed to truly show where he belongs in the game. Uh, I think both of these fighters needs a knockout to truly stamp their ticket and make the boxing world, clamor and anticipate and demand a fight against Canelo. That's what's at stake tomorrow night. I think Benavidez, man, I really was high on Andre, and I thought that I still think that he had a shot, a long shot at an upset. A long shot now because I just sense and I see David Benavidez, man, has a different aura about himself in this particular buildup for this fight. I think he's taken Demetrius Andre very serious. And when you look at his demeanor, you can tell it seems like he's matured as a fighter now, the way he conducts himself at these weigh-ins and press conferences. And that's important because if you look at his little brother, Jose Benavidez, that was him about 2 years ago. That's how he approached it. Very emotional, very outspoken, and wore his heart on his sleeve. You feel me? But you can see that he's had sort of like a transformation. And when I look at that, I say that's just experience, a fighter really coming into his own. You feel me? And really, I feel is at his peak right now today. Now, let's keep in mind, Andre is 35 years old. 35. Did the boxing game, outweight him and maybe give him this event opportunity at maybe too late, too soon? It could be one of those type of scenarios where you see a younger David Benavidez take advantage of his youthfulness in this fight. I think if this fight gets heated in the beginning and it's going to take a bout of nutrition, I think the younger fighter, 26 to 35, I think that youthfulness is going to play a role. But I believe if Andre is to win this fight, he's going to have to make David Benavidez fight off the back foot. That jab is going to have to be effective enough for not only to score, but back David Benavidez up where he has to retreat in his game. So, and I think that's the way to beat David Benavidez. You cannot allow him to come forward and dictate the action. I mean, that's when he gets his combinations off, rapid fire combinations, 4, 5, 6 punches at a time. You don't want to be on the end of that. If you're Demetrius Andre, man, you don't, that spells trouble. And I think, Benavidez having a little height and reach advantage, you feel me, going to play a big part of his success. But I think power at the end of the day, I always feel power, is the exclamation point, the difference maker, in a fight that stylistically could be this close. Now, we don't need a stinker where the styles clash. So that means one of these fighters is going to have to, if it comes down to it, take the risk to make the fight, not let the styles clash because one fighter is afraid or not willing to stand, and fight instead of retreating. Sometimes you got to draw the line and you got to sit in the pocket, which a lot of these fighters aren't willing to do because you got to put your ass on the line when you sit in the pocket. You feel me? You got to be dressed down in defense. You got to have confidence in your ability. You feel me? Because in close is where that real, art of war is really being waged right there when you're fighting for territory and position in that square circle. But this fight, man, I think it should give us the fireworks and the anticipation of one of these fighters stamping their tickets to fight Canelo Alvarez. Still the face of the game right now. So that's what we have to look forward to. But on this undercard is gaining a lot of attention because Jose Benavidez has really been taking it to the long-awaited return of Jamal Big Charlo. That's capital B, capital I, capital G, Big Charlo of the twin Charlo brothers, man, who's still the WBC middleweight champion, but he's coming off a long layoff. He took a hiatus from boxing to really get some personal, situations in order. And I think he got his head on tight right now, man, and really showing a lot of maturity, even in this press conference. But, if there's a time for Jose Benavidez to make a move and get an upset, it's now. With the long over maybe 2 and 4 month layoff that Jamal Charlo is coming into this fight with. And even though it's not a title fight, it's only 10 rounds. A tough 10 rounds can still be telling when you're coming in with ring rust and you haven't been in the game in a while, and you got to fight at this level, for over a period of time. This fight could be challenging, and it could be a recipe for an upset, but I believe this fight's going to come down to class. And I think the class in this fight is Jamal Charlo, because here is the undefeated fighter, never lost. Even though Jose Benavidez is, he has the ability to fight and win. He's faced 2 champions before and came up on the short end, but they just wasn't any ordinary champions. When you're talking about the likes of Danny Garcia at 154, and then he fought the pound for pound king, Bud Crawford, at 147. He didn't get out of that fight unscathed. He was stopped inside the distance. I think that was his only time being stopped. But those are the 2 champions that he's had a chance to face, and he's hoping that catching Charlo on this long layoff, maybe have some ring rust, and maybe might have some lingering distractions. He's thinking this is his time to strike and maybe create an upset here tomorrow night. But any way it goes, man, I think both of these fights going to give us what we want. And I believe when you look at it, you got to say it's 2 Benavidez on this fight card. Could they go 2-0? Or could they split 1-1? And if so, which Benavidez can win? But could they both get beat tomorrow night and the both Benavidez brother go 0-2 on the last show for Showtime pay-per-view?